Okay, so our function here is a radical function, and they want us to restrict the domain and then find the inverse. The domain is already restricted for the function because x has to be greater than or equal to 4 because you can't take the square root of a negative number. So we already know the domain is restricted because it is a radical function. Whereas in the past our quadratic functions weren't restricted without us doing it for them. Okay, so we can graph this function. We know what it looks like. It's going to be shifted 4 units to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's a square root function. Let's see. And it's going to look like that. So it's a one-to-one function, so that's great. And that's what it looks like. And then let's go ahead and find the inverse then. Oh, I wanted to do one thing though first. Let's write that down. We know the domain of that function. X has to be greater than or equal to 4, but the range for f is from 0 to infinity, right? Okay, so it's going up, and the lowest it goes is 0. Okay, so might want to keep that in mind. All right, so back to finding the inverse. We wrote y equals the square root of x minus 4. We're going to switch the x and y. We're going to square both sides. I should put parentheses there. And I'm going to add the 4. Now, we know that's a parabola, right? But we have to restrict it, and it's going to be based on our range for the original function. I didn't write it in function notation, so let me do that. I was all excited to restrict the domain. We're going to say that the domain, then, for our inverse has to be from 0 to infinity, or in other words, x has to be greater than or equal to 0. So we know what this function looks like as well. We know it's a parabola, and it's shifted up 4. It's got a vertical shift, but we're only going to get half a parabola because x has to be greater than 0. So we're going to go from 0, and then it's going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it looks like that. And it should be symmetric about the y equals x line, and you could fold it and get those points to line up. Now you might be saying, yeah, but I was going to have the whole parabola. Why do I have to restrict it? Well, it has to match up. You can't have it be 1-to-1 and then the inverse not be 1-to-1, so that would be a problem. And we do have to restrict it this way so that it matches the range of the original function. You also might be wondering, hey, you know, I've seen sideways parabolas in the past. We do work with sideways parabolas, but they're not functions. They fall under what we call conic sections, which we're going to study in a later chapter this semester.